For me, this talk is not about the latest and greatest drone technology. It's changing so fast. It's like the sky's the limit, no pun intended, but you can think of anything and you could do it with a drone. So what I want to talk about is the management part of it and what I think is useful to consider when you're considering using a drone, because I know a lot of people are thinking about it. And that's what I'm going to go through as I tell the story of what I did last summer in Creston Valley Wildlife Management Area. So it's a large area, and we were sort of challenged with mapping yellow flag iris in a 140-hectare chunk of that park. Yellow flag iris has that incredibly bright yellow flower, so it's an awesome search image. Would it work with the technology that we have? Drones are a gas to fly, but would it even see our plant? So we went out behind TRU and we stuck all these little discs on the ground, ranging from 3 inches to 5 inches in diameter. So from 50 meters up in the air, we could see those things no problem. So could we do it? How many flights do we need to do? How long will it take us per flight? 2 big days in the field and we can map this area. But here's the thing, we had a plan and we knew like we could do it, we had enough time, but there were some things that we hadn't thought about. So we were in Creston, and it's highly mountainous, and as the sun went down, it created this huge shadow. So it was still daytime, I think it was like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, but there was a huge shadow, and we hadn't thought about that, and so we had left that part, and we were mapping it, and we realized, oh no, here comes the shadow. The next thing is consider the actual plant you're mapping. So I'm coming at it from a plant perspective. When you're walking through the trees and you're 5'3", like I am, you have a totally different perspective than when you're 50 meters up in the air. So when you're up in the air, what obscures the camera's view is completely different. So canopies of larger plants become an issue, and they're obscuring the camera's view. So here we have a bunch of trees along the riparian corridor where we would expect to find the yellow flag iris, but we can't see if it's there or not because there's a big tree, many big trees. When is your plant visible? Does it have a color or growth form that's highly visible? And then consider the technology that you're working with. Drones are awesome, but they are limited, because if a battery dies after 20 minutes and you want to be mapping for 2 days straight, you need lots of batteries. The other thing to think about is if you have internet nearby, you can send your flight to the cloud and it can send it back to you within a matter of a few minutes, and you can see, did it work or didn't it? If you can process your imagery as soon as possible after you get it back, then you can see what you need to remap and refly. The next part is processing the images. Incredibly time and labor and computer energy expensive. The more detail, the more time, the more money. So think about your plant and how much detail do you need, and tailor whatever you do with your drone to capture the level of detail you need, but don't go any farther than that. Like maybe you can fly higher in the air and capture a larger area. So here's what it looked like, one level of detail on the processed imagery overlaid with Google Earth. You can see it's better than a Google Earth, but it's probably like, oh, that's not what I want. So then you can zoom into that same circle in a different program, and you can start to see yellow flag iris popping up in that little bay. And then when we bring it into GIS, we have a really clear image of yellow flag iris. We can see individual yellow flowers. It looks fabulous. So the drone flying part is a couple of days and a lot of fun, but there's all this post-processing that has to be built into your budget. It has to be built into your expectations, whether you do it yourself or whether you hire a consultant to do it. I think that you have to budget in a lot. So here's what I wanted. I wanted a nice GIS map with polygons. And here's kind of what I got for one of my maps. There's some gaps where there's no data, there's not enough overlap, and it just couldn't produce any data. And so that just has to be built into your plan, that you're going to refly any areas where you're not getting exactly what you want. Accessibility is greatly improved. You can get into places so quickly. You can just fly the drone up and over the trees and where you want it to go. You could pretty much think of anything that you wanted to do, and you could get a drone to do it. You could cover such a huge area if you trained the drone in advance for what it was looking for on the landscape. So that's kind of where we're at with drones, and I really encourage everybody to use them and to get a good drone technician that can help you and can help you with the processing. And think outside the box, because you can do anything with them. And you can even go online and look at YouTube and see what other people have done and incorporate some of that.